Good evening. Thank you all for coming. Most ancient theatre forms, whether it is Chinese opera or our Yakshagana or Indian dance, we begin with a tradition of sanctifying the stage before the performance begins. Today, we are going to do this for one simple reason. It includes cows. The Natya Shastra, which is an ancient treatise on dance, includes a Sanskrit shloka during the Purvaranga, which is a ritual consecration of the stage and in which various gods are invoked. If you pay attention to the Sanskrit shloka that will follow, you will hear the word go, which means cows. And this is the meaning of the shloka. O Lord Indra, the one who defeats demons, destroys all evil, and removes all obstacles. Bless our king and the kingdom. Bless the cow and other animals. Bless the citizens of this world. Let them prosper, and may the king win over his enemies. Let the dance of Lord Shiva bless us all.
धा धा धिन ता त्वं महेन्द्र प्रहरणं सर्वदानव सूधनं निर्मितं सर्वदेवैश्च सर्वविघ्न निवारणम् नृपस्य विजयं शंस रिपुणां च पराजयम् गो ब्राह्मण शिवं चैव नाट्यस्य च विवर्धनम् नाट्यस्य च विवर्धनम् नाट्यस्य च विवर्धनम्.
It's my pleasure to introduce the participants today. Stanley Pinto has many sides to him. On one side is the Epicurean, the bon vivant, who knows about ballet shoes, cigars, French food, and global wines. He is an engaged, active participant in our democracy, a wordsmith, and a connector of people and ideas. He loves my father's columns and has been asking me to make a book of it. Shreya Narayanan is 10 years old. Stanley, would you do me the honor of coming on stage? And Shreya, would you come on stage? Shreya Narayanan is 10 years old. She studies at Aditi Malya School and loves rollerblading. She has read The Cows of Bangalore in its entirety and asked me a question which I could not answer, which is why I invited her to be part of the show. Srimati Raji Murthy has taught and sung Carnatic music for 60 years, first in Delhi and then in Bangalore. Her favorite singer is M.L. Vasanta Kumari, and her favorite ragam is Ranjani. She has taught me the song that we are going to sing today. The dancers of the Natya STEM Dance Company are here thanks to a nudge from my friend Madhu Natraj, an amazing dancer herself. We have 4 dancers today. Is Madhu? Adrika Subhash, please come on stage. Yonita Jain, Reshma Nair, and Rutali Karlekar. All 4, go in the middle. All 4 are graduates of the Natya Institute of Kathak and Choreography, started by the legendary Maya Rao. All the dancers are trained in Kathak, Indian ritualistic and folk dance, martial arts, and are currently pursuing Indian contemporary dance. They travel with the company to many important dance festivals, and I love their last line. They live and breathe dance. So I hand the mic over to our impresarios.
I love dogs.
Stand.
I also like cats, but you know, someone once said, women and cats do their own thing, and men and dogs better get used to it. So, of course, I love women as well. And so I love cats. But cows, I'm not so sure. To be honest, until 6 months ago, I didn't really notice them. Why would I want to notice a cow, for heaven's sake? They're on the street, they interfere with traffic, they do all kinds of strange things. Then I began to notice them because I started to notice photographs of this film star, Shahid Kapoor. He has a cow pat on his head. There's a new hairstyle that kids go around with now, with the hair cropped and a cow pat on the head. But I read the book, Shobha's book. Only Shobha could meet a cow on the street and spin that meeting out into a book that goes back 2,000 years to the Gita and the Artha Shastra and the this and the that, things that I don't even know what they're about. And then talk about the contemporary cow. Only Shobha would bring a cow up in an elevator to the 3rd floor and into her flat. Only Shobha could do this. And if you haven't read that book, they're being sold outside. She's even agreed not to charge you if she signs the book for you. I warn you, when you read it, make sure you've got nothing else to do for the rest of the day or the evening or the night. I start reading at 1 o'clock at night because I watch a movie, I do all kinds of things. And I started to read that book at 1, and next thing I know, it was 4:30 in the morning. It's an unputdownable book. And so, this book uses bovines as a takeoff point to talk about food, family, identity, and A2 milk. It touches upon folk wisdom and agricultural practices. It harks back to India's pastoral heritage. And for that reason, this performance will be a folksy mix of song, story, dance, and speech. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let us move to the performance.
Hear ye, hear ye. May you all be prosperous. May you be free. Swasti. In this great land that we call India, once upon a time, a number of animals roamed. There were elephants and giraffes, mice and men. Of all these animals, only one is whole. Only one is sacred. Only one has a ministry in the government named after it. This is the story of that animal. This is the story of the holy cow. In Indian mythology, the holiest of the cows is Kamadhenu. The front part of her body is human. The back part is cow. Kamadhenu has wings and the tail of a peahen. Its 4 legs represent the Vedas. Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and the Tarva Veda. The horns represent the divine trinity. The lower part is Shiva, the destroyer, The middle portion is Vishnu, the protector, and the top is Brahma, the creator. The eyes represent the moon and the sun. The wings of Kamadhenu represent air and fire. Sage Vasishta comes to his hermitage, to his cow, Kamadhenu. One day, he has a visitor. It is King Vishwamitra. The king enters with his army, full of pride, valor, and strength. Tell me, how can I help you? King Vishwamitra says, my whole army wants food and shelter. O sage Vasishta, can you help us? Vasishta pats his cow Kamadhenu, who transforms into Mother Kamadhenu and provides an unending supply of food, enough to feed the king and his entire army. Is this enough? Are you happy? No, this is not enough. I am the king of this land and I want your cow, O sage. You cannot take her away from me. Mother cow turns into a fighting machine. The battle. Lo and behold, the king is defeated. The sage pats his cow Kamadhenu. The word for cow in Hindi is go, and you see it everywhere in India. Godavari, Gomukh, Govardhan, Gopal, Govind, the list goes on. It is there in our music and our dance. Why don't we listen to one such song?
கோவிந்தா என்றுனை பாட கோபாலா என்றுனை பாட கோவிந்தா என்றுனை பாட கோபாலா என்றுனை பாட கோவிந்தா என்றுனை பாட கோபாலா என்றுனை பாட ஜனன மரணம் சுழற்சிலிருந்து காத்திட வேண்டும் என்னை ஜனன மரணம் சுழற்சிலிருந்து காத்திட வேண்டும் என்னை நாமம் பாட பிறவிகள் வேண்டுமே கிருஷ்ணா நாமம் பாட பிறவிகள் வேண்டுமே நாமம் பாட பிறவிகள் வேண்டுமே கிருஷ்ணா நாமம் பாட பிறவிகள் வேண்டுமே நிருபம சுந்தர சுந்தர ரூபா சுந்தர வதன மாம் பாஹி மதுர மதுர ஜய மாதவ மாமவ மதுர மதுர ஜய மாமவ மாதவ பக்த ஹிருதயவாசி கிருஷ்ணா பக்த ஹிருதயவாசி நிருபம சுந்தர சுந்தர ரூபா வேணுகானலோலா பக்தகானம் ரோலலிங்க ವೇಣುಗಾನಲೋಲ ಭಕ್ತ ಪ್ರಾಣನಾದಲೋಲ ವೇದಗಾನ ಪ್ರಿಯ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ನಾಮಗಾನ ಪ್ರಿಯ ವೇದಗಾನ ಪ್ರಿಯ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ನಾಮಗಾನ ಪ್ರಿಯ ವೇದಗಾನ ಪ್ರಿಯ ನಾಮಗಾನ ಪ್ರಿಯ ವೇದಗಾನ ಪ್ರಿಯ ನಾಮಗಾನ ಪ್ರಿಯ ವೇದನಾದ ನಾದ 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 ನಿರುಪಮ ಸುಂದರ ಸುಂದರ ರೂಪ ಸುಂದರ ವದನ ಮಾಂ ಪಾಹಿ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
To get a flavor of Shobha's book, one only needs to read the opening page. Let me read for you. Shobha is standing outside the elevator on the floor in a building. The elevator door opens. A cow stands inside, angled diagonally to fit. It doesn't look uncomfortable, merely impatient. This is Shobha speaking. I reflexively move forward and then stop, trying not to gape. It is for the housewarming ceremony on the 3rd floor, explains the woman who stands behind the cow, holding it loosely with a rope. She has the sheepish look of a person caught in a strange situation who's trying to act as normal as possible. Hey, hey, she shushes as the cow fidgets. Don't worry, ma. The cow and I will get off on the 3rd floor and send the elevator down. She smiles reassuringly. The door closes. I pull out bug spray from my handbag, stare at it for a moment and then put it back in. Does bug spray work against bovine germs, I wonder? I shake my head and suppress a grin. It is good to be back. Although I grew up in India, in Chennai or Madras as it was then called, I left for undergraduate studies in the US and didn't come back for close to 20 years. Returning to India was a long cherished dream. Living here has been like being in a dream, sometimes replete with surreal, only in India sights, sounds, and smells that would have given Salvador Dali either a ton of inspiration or a run for his money, like encountering a cow in an elevator. Outside the apartment building, a large red moving truck is parked near the curb. 2 burly men are unloading cardboard boxes labeled Crown Relocation. My husband stands on the sidewalk checking off boxes from the list he carries. Bedroom, kitchen, toys, and so on. Pink bougainvillea grow on the compound wall of the building named Ivory. We are moving into a newly constructed apartment building named after a banned product created from elephant trucks that, quixotically, is painted in a shade called ebony. You will never guess what I saw inside the elevator, I say. There is no response. A cow. Now he looks up, my husband. It is a busy time for cows, said the relocation guy. A new building in Bangalore, many people moving in, they all want cows to walk through their homes. Yes, I know what he means. What is it? For Indians like me, equal parts global citizen and traditional Hindu, the role that the cow plays in Indian society, both as a symbol of Hinduism and as a reality that roams the street, is a matter of acceptance and embarrassment, much like what parents become to teenage children. On the other hand, Hinduism is intricately linked with this particular quadruped. On the other, you think that a modern democracy like India would get over its cow obsession already. Never mind that we're in it right now. Again and again. What is the point of talking about software and IT and development if you can't cut off pastoral links with an ungulate that harks back to when nomadic tribes became settled civilizations? Psychologist and Professor Martin Seligman, often called the father of positive psychology, made a list of the 6 character traits that were valued by cultures across the world. The 6 traits, per Seligman, are wisdom, courage, temperance, transcendence, justice, and humanity. In India, the cow is imbued with all these qualities in folklore, myth, and poetry. Take justice, for example.
This is a story of Manu Nidhi Cholan. He was the king of a Chola dynasty, a brave king who defeated all his neighbors and captured many lands, even as far as Sri Lanka. But above all, he was known for his justice. The king hung a giant bell outside the palace. "Citizens," he said, "you can pull on the bell's rope and summon me if you want justice. If someone has stolen from you unfairly, pull the bell. If someone has done harm to you, ring the bell. If someone has tricked you and taken what is yours, ring the bell. Even if I do you harm, ring the bell. I may be a ruler, but I want justice for all." One morning, he woke up to see a cow pulling on the rope. Apparently, one day, the king was speeding on his chariot and ran over the cow's calf by accident. Mother cow wanted justice. The king had run over her calf, she said. He had killed her, child. What would you do in this situation? King Manu Nidhi Cholan didn't offer the cow mother a lifetime of hay as compensation. He didn't simply go and apologize to the cow. He did what was just. He called for his soldiers and said to behead the crown prince. The cow was grieving for its dead child. So the king had his son killed so that he would know a parent's grief. Till today, this king's statue stands at the entrance of Madras High Court to remind people about justice.
After I encountered Madhu, come. The PowerPoint. After I encountered the milk lady in the elevator, I learned that she was supplying milk to our building. Not now. Not now. Yeah. And her name was Sarala. So she had a herd of about 10 cows across the street from my building. And one day I just walked across and I said, I'm looking to buy milk and I'm not sure if I should buy from you. Because in our houses, all of us, we are used to pasteurized milk. So my husband and I reached a compromise. We would use Sarala's raw milk for curds in our house, and we would use the pasteurized milk for coffee. So that was how it started. It was a very easy arrangement. Sarala had visiting cards, and she would give us one visiting card for half a liter, and I would kind of collect it, and then I would pay her back with the same visiting cards. So it was a very seamless arrangement. Every morning I would put my kids in the school bus, go across, buy the milk, and that's how we became friendly. There was a whole group of people who bought from Sarala. There were people from the army cantonment, and each of them had a favorite cow. Each of them, they've been buying from her for years. So each of them had a favorite cow, one that ate cucumber peels. Mumtaz liked a cow that she said eats grass, which is alkaline and it's better milk. So we became friends, and that's how Sarala and I developed a relationship. And then it reached a point where I thought I should market her milk to people in my apartment complex. So I decided to have some people at home to do this.
Well, Sarla, my milkwoman, needs a cow. She tells me so when I chide her for giving me less milk one morning. It is 7 a.m. The school buses have left. I am standing outside my Bangalore home, waiting in line for fresh cow's milk. Sarla's youngest son, Selva, squats nearby, milking his mother's favorite cow, Chella Lakshmi. I have known Sarla for 10 years. I see her when I cross the road to buy milk. She asks me for many things, but so far, not a cow. Sarla is not sure how much a Holstein Friesian cow will cost. She thinks it will be 75,000 rupees or so. She has it all worked out. She will repay my loan through a supply of free milk, 2 liters daily, which costs about 70 a day. Within a year or two, give or take, the loan will be repaid, she said. Well, when I look dubious about her rate of return, she offers an explanation. I need you to buy me more cows. How will you do that if I don't repay your loan? Then she lays it on thick. You know, the family in the apartment below yours wanted to buy a cow for us. They like to do that, these Jains. Good karma, you see. But the timing didn't set. When they were ready to buy, I didn't have space in my cowshed. When I had space in my cowshed, they didn't have the money. It didn't work out. You are lucky. Else, why would I approach you instead of them when I need a cow? As a kicker, Sarla gave me naming rights to the cow that I buy. As long as the name ends with Lakshmi, the Hindu goddess of wealth. Otherwise, she says, the name won't set.
So once I got over my shock, I began rationalizing, because both my father and father-in-law, this was years ago, both my father and father-in-law were celebrating their 80th birthday, and in Hinduism, gifting a cow is supposed to give good karma. Which brings me to my first question. That's sort of what got me really interested in the book, is why is the cow so important in Hinduism? Is the cow important in Hinduism? Is the cow important in Hinduism alone? So let me start with a story. So the Prophet Muhammad is supposed to have one day ordered his vast herd of horses to be corralled without water for days, for 7 days. And then when they were released, all the horses ran towards the oasis to drink water. At the same time, the Prophet sounded his war horn. Of the vast herds running for water, only 4 returned to the Prophet. And the story goes, the legend has it, that all the purebred Arabian horses are all descendants of those obedient mares that returned to the Prophet. So when you think of Islam, you think of horses, maybe falcons. When you think of Christianity, which is the animal that comes to mind? Sheep, yeah. So I went to convent school, so if you read the Bible, the word sheep comes, I don't know, countless times. Lamb of God, the Lord is my shepherd. So when you look at the great world religions, Christianity chose the sheep. Why did Hinduism choose the cow? Long, long ago, there was a god who loved cows. He was a young, charismatic man. He was also a prankster, a trickster, and a thief. Can you guess who he is? Well, think again. This god stole cows from his brother and in fact made them walk backwards so that he would mislead his brother and hid them inside a cave. When Apollo discovered that his brother Hermes had stolen his cows, he dragged Hermes to their father Zeus, the Greek god, the king of gods, and forced his brother to confess the truth. So you see, my point is that in the ancient world, everybody was obsessed with cows. The Odysseus was shipwrecked because the men, Odysseus's men stole the cattle of Helios, the sun god. Egypt had a book of celestial cows. Cattle raiding was common in Ireland, in Greek, Roman, Celtic cultures. The Persians had a god called Gyo-Survan. I guess from there comes the word go, which was the god of heavenly guardian of cattle. And of course in India, where, as the dancers showed you, you had kings and sages battling for cows. So this is because the word cattle is cognate with capital, which means movable assets. And in the ancient world, cows were thought of as movable assets. On the opposite side, the word pashu is cognate with pekyu, which means you don't have cows or you are impecunious. The term for war in the Rig Veda is gavisti. Gavisti is search for cows, and that has perhaps trickled down to being kusti. So you see, this relationship between humans and these bovines goes back millennia. And in India, we have retained this. We think of it as sacred. Certainly, Sarala thought of her cows as sacred. And by this time, my relationship with her had grown, and I was marketing for her, like I said. I invited my friends and neighbors to the building to get milk from Sarala.
I think I might have made my invitation a tad formal, because the women come in wearing flirty cocktail dresses and silk saris. They have makeup, lipstick, and blow-dried hair. They have the look of women going out on a Friday night who are looking forward, I'm looking forward to the next page, who are looking forward to pink cocktails interspersed with sparkling conversation. I decide to get the evangelical bit out of the way right at the beginning. Let's start with some tea or coffee, I announced brightly. Who would like some South Indian filter coffee? My guests looked wary. They had expected champagne, but they played along. They all nod their heads, which is good because the milky coffee is already made. I serve each of them a small cup of coffee and invite them to the terrace. After a few moments of chit-chat, I stand up and tap a spoon on my coffee cup. I have some wonderful news to share, I begin. The milk in the coffee that you are drinking comes from the cows that are being milked right across the street from here. Some of the women splutter and spit the contents of their mouth into their cups. They look up and stare at me. We are living the California dream, my friends. People there yearn to buy local and organic. This is our version. Come, I invite. Look at those cows down yonder. They are eating the grass that grows in our neighborhood parks. They are digesting all this with their 4 stomachs. Not 1, not 2, but 4 stomachs. And they are giving out the goodness of their digestion in the form of the milk that graces your coffee. My voice rises. I feel like Barack Obama, or at least his stunt double. When I rehearsed my speech, I believed that it would be touching. We would sip our coffee and commune with the mud-splattered but still beautiful Holstein Friesian cows who have given the contents of their stomach for our coffee. We would stare down at them in silence and pledge to improve their lives and my milk lady's livelihood. We would be at one with nature and cows and lead a zero-emissions life, at least in the dairy department. What happens is a little different. Most of my guests immediately announce that they are late for another event. They have places to go. Some of them get emergency phone calls and have to leave right away. I never see them again. Well, that isn't really true. Some of them live in my building, and I'm forced to encounter their baleful glares every time we pass each other at the gate. But it takes years before they agree to come to my home for coffee.
So in the book, I go with Sarala to buy a cow, and I will show it to you later. But before that, I had this little quiz where I asked you about the god that is most associated with cows, and all of us, of course, said Krishna. And Krishna, in India, Krishna is the one that is associated more with cows than any other god. So we have a little piece about the Hindu god Krishna.
Little Krishna's mother is churning butter. He sees this and wants to eat the butter. Krishna comes and manages to steal the butter. The second half of Krishna's life is where he meets his love, Radha. They spend many happy hours dancing with the gopis. In Vrindavan's forest. More than any other animal, Krishna loved cows. He would confuse his brother by making the cows go reverse. Krishna had names for each of his cows. The white ones were called Hamsi, Chandani, Ganga, and Mukta. The reddish ones were Aruni, Kumkuma, and Saraswati. The blackish ones were Shyamala, Yamuna, and Dumula. The yellow ones were Pitta, Pingula, and Haritaki. Cows and Krishna are linked together, just like his flute is to music.
So I want to show you a video that I made. This was actually made for the US version of the book, but I think it'll explain the book in 1.5 minutes. So if we can turn off the lights and... Compared to our dinky co-op in the Upper West Side of Manhattan, my home in India is gigantic and messy. Across the street from my apartment building is a herd of cows. I didn't plan on writing a book about cows. They walked up to me, quite literally. But then this is India, where cows are both holy and ubiquitous. I live in Bangalore in a joint family, sort of. My brother and sister-in-law, my parents, my mother-in-law, and a whole herd of cousins live close by. We drive each other nuts, really. The story began 12 years ago when I walked across the street to buy milk from a family that had been serving our neighborhood for generations. My milkwoman's name is Sarala. She is the heroine of my book. Sarala needed a cow. She approached me for a loan. I dithered at first and then agreed. Off we went, far and wide, to search for a cow. This is the story of how I bought a cow. That's my cow, Anandalakshmi. Her name means blissful goddess of wealth. A character in my book says, "Everything I am is because of the cow." The same could be said for my book. Read about it. So the cows of Bangalore touches on three topics. One, which is very close to my heart, is the A2 milk, which we can talk about if you like. And the other is the whole, why is the cow sacred? And the third aspect is animal domestication, which is fascinating because if you think about it, why didn't we domesticate giraffes or leopards? Why did we domesticate the cow? So those are the three threads that run through the book. But in this event, I decided I would just focus on the story and not so much on the theory and the concepts behind it. So this is the backstory of the cows of Bangalore and what happened. So like I said, this is Sarala. She still lives in Alsur. She had about 50 customers at her heyday about 7-8 years ago. And then this is her husband Naidu, and in India the Naidu caste are dairy farmers. It comes naturally to them. So this is her husband Naidu, and her son Selva, who actually now drives an auto for Ola. But he used to, when I got to know him, he used to be the milker of the cows. And Sarala had a knack. And all of us encounter people like this. We have Istri, we have Dobiwalas, Istriwalas. So the question was, why did this story develop as opposed to other stories? I think the reason is because Sarala had a knack for telling stories. She's genuinely a generous and warm spirit. And I spent every morning about half an hour with her. So if any of you is planning to write a book about things that happen every day in India, I think those three would be the recipe for it, which would be time spent on a regular basis, figuring out a character who is able to say stories, and the third is to find a compelling backstory. So this is Selva milking the cow, and then one day Sarala approached me and we decided, I agreed. She said, I need 40,000 rupees. She started with that. And I said, okay, I'm going to think about it. And then we took an auto one day and we went all over. There are villages all around Bangalore where we went to search for the cow. This is in Tanisandra village, which is about on the way to the airport. So this guy kind of comes along. He's the broker. He's the cow broker. So he shows us the cows. And then we go within the city. This is actually, the next slide is in Kormangla. Next to a Mori, there are these men who sell cows. So we went within the city, outside the city. And then one day, after 2-3 days of doing this, we were all really fed up. We were tired. We hadn't found a cow. And then we encountered a coconut vendor on the side of the road. And we are just chatting with him and saying, we need a cow. And lo and behold, this coconut vendor says, look at the house in the back. That greenhouse, that's my house, and I have a cow, and I can sell it to you. So then we were all thunderstruck that this coconut vendor has this giant house. We walk across to this house. By this time, the crowd, we have grown to Sarala, Selva, me, the auto driver's assistant, everybody. We all go. And then, yes, he has a cow to sell, and his wife, who is in the red sari in the next slide, she pulls out a cow from the field, And we are bargaining with her for a cow. She wants they want 85,000 rupees, and they are unwilling to come down in price. And Sarala has a very nice explanation. She says, Amma, he's selling coconut water just for time pass. Where is he going to negotiate down for the price of the cow? He's not going to do it. So he doesn't. So then we ditch the coconut vendor. We go to the other side of town, which is near Vartur, which is beyond Whitefield. And there too we encounter a man called Reddy. He is selling this cow. And Selva's way to find out if the cow is in good health is to look at whether the teeth are all right, and then the cow has to wag its tail in a certain fashion. So all this is there. And then in the book I talk about going to a Sante, cow market, but here this is where we are in Vartur village beyond Whitefield, looking at this man Reddy's cows. Finally we negotiate with him, and it's a very humorous process that I describe in the book, and then Reddy decides to sell it to us for 65,000 rupees. And then next slide you'll see all these guys negotiating, all of them standing and discussing about the cow. And then there is next slide is of happy Reddy holding cash in his hand and getting rid of his cow. And he throws in the cow's calf as a kind of a bonus, buy one, get one free kind of thing. So we are loading the calf, we are loading the cow. We hire an auto for 300 rupees to take both of these. And then in the city, we come home, and then Sarala says, why don't you buy 1 month feed for the cow? So it's kind of rounded off to 75,000 rupees, and I give her. And then I get naming rights. So we do a little ceremony where I formally name the cow Ananda Lakshmi. And all the people in my house who helped me got involved. They said, Amma, if you're doing this, you can't just simply go and say, you have to take fruits, you have to put it in a proper thing with kunkuma, haldi, everything, and you have to put it on the head, you have to bow, and you have to... So this is how the naming ceremony happened. And then one day a calf shows up at my doorstep. The security guard calls up and says, there's a calf in the front gate, look, they are looking for you. As it turns out, my cow, Ananda Lakshmi, has delivered a male calf. And a male calf is useless to a dairy farmer. So they don't know what to do. It's like an orphan. It's like, so this calf is about 4 days old or 5 days old. So Sarala, I'm sort of the adopted mother. We have this big discussion. They want to get rid of the calf because they have no use. So Naidu says, let me go meet this Jain people here. They have a big goshala. We have to go get a certificate from these people saying we haven't stolen the calf. So here we are at what they call a Seth Kade, which is a pawnbroker shop, trying to get a certificate saying this is indeed our calf and we want to donate it to your goshala. We load him up in an auto, and we have a blind auto driver driving us. And there we go to this goshala. It's a giant 108-acre goshala outside Bangalore. And we leave this little calf. And Sarala has already instructed me. She says, when you go there, take some Mysore pak, take some sweets. There'll be all these people taking care of the calves. You have to give them extra money, and you have to ask them to tie a thread around our calf so that they know what our calf is. And then you give the... and in the book I detail this process because it's not as easy as I talk about it. For all of us were feeling very horrible about doing this. But the calf is at the goshala, and the cow Ananda Lakshmi still walks on my street, and I think she recognizes me. Recognizes me. I recognize her, and that's her. She's still 10 years later, Sarala is still milking the cow. It's one of 2 cows that Sarala still has. The family is now shifting, and it's again, in the 10 years I see the family, they've shifted now. She runs a condiment shop, which is a supari shop, and the son is driving an Ola auto, and they just have 2 cows that they are dealing with. So this is the story of the cows of Bangalore and of Sarala. And this is Ananda Lakshmi. I wanted to show it to you. So that is the performance part of it, and I can talk for half an hour, 1 hour, but I thought I would ask if you have questions. If you have questions for Shreya or Stan or any one of the dancers about the book, I'll be very happy to answer them. And there's a mic there that can go around as well. And like I said, the 3 threads that you can ask me about are the desi cow milk, which is a big thing now, and then also about this whole dairy farming in Bangalore, and about bovines in India. The one thing I don't talk about in the book is the whole political scenario. I stay away from that, and that's really, it's a very sad situation, but I don't talk about that. I explicitly say this is not a book on politics because it's hard to write one if you're a vegetarian and a Hindu. So that's what it is. So. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. So the folk wisdom in the book, the folk wisdom is that desi cows they have humps, and the humps are supposed to have what the farmers call the Surya Ketu Nadi, which is attracting the sun's rays, and then that collects it. It's like a collection vessel, and then it affects the milk. And the simplest way in scientific, the science is still being decided, but they say it's non-diabetogenic milk. A2, the milk that comes from desi cows is non-diabetogenic milk. It gives you less allergies. If you're lactose intolerant, you can eat it. I get it now in my house. It's much thicker than pasteurized milk. But the larger reason why I think we should buy A2 milk is because India used to have 75 types of cattle. There were 75 species, 75 breeds, and each one was bred for a reason in a region. In Karnataka, we had the Hallikars, we had the Amrit Mahal, which used to help Tipu Sultan. In Tamil Nadu, we have Umbala Cheri, Pulikkulam. All of these cows are very specific to region and bred for so there's one section in the book where this man, his name is Nambi, he says, the cow will eat certain kinds of grass and adapt the milk to the region, adapt the milk to the people here. So I think the larger reason why I think people like us who can afford it should support A2 milk is because it's a way of preventing these breeds from going extinct. Right now, lots of breeds in Indian breeds have gone extinct, and it's a good way to keep the breeds alive. Yeah, so I buy from a local, now it's becoming popular. The problem is it's cost double. So instead of 35 rupees a liter, you're paying 70 a liter. And I'm happy to share. I get it from a guy in my neighborhood, and I'm happy to share the number. Is it sold packaged, Shobha? Yeah, he delivers it in packages. Yes. Yeah. And yeah, in the book I write about visiting a doctor who prescribes cow urine tablets, and about I've tasted. So I write about all that, the therapeutic value of cows. And I have a friend, my mother's Shishya, his mother had got cancer, and the doctors had given up on it. So I think people turn to these types of remedies when they have no other alternative. And some good can come out of it. And in Pandit's, my friend Pandit's case, his mother was able to live for a longer period than he anticipated. Liama? So I write about why the Ayurveda considers cow ghee to be, and in my daughter's school in Aditi, there was a talk given by a scientist from NCBS, and he said that currently the thinking is that ghee is good for you. It used to be not good, so now coconut oil and ghee, all of it is good for you. So specifically cow's ghee is good for you. So you eat it with, you have a little bit of tulsi and some ghee, and it's supposed to be good for you. Yeah, so I do write about the Ayurvedic ideas of why they consider the cow, the Panchagavya therapeutic.
You have no idea how many surprises are in this book. She's an impossible woman. How long did it take you to write this?
So the relationship with Sarala began in 2006, and the book was published in 2018. So it took about 10 years. So yeah, and so.
One question. Sorry for the mystery. You see these cows on the road, and they're just there. Groups of singles, they're walking around, and how do they go home, and how does the owner keep track of them?
Yeah.
It's always been a mystery.
Yeah. So according to Sarala, these cows have an inner GPS and they can find their way. But you will see in the morning, Selva used to go on a little moped and he would round up his cows. So they kind of know where these cows will be. They are worried about that, about getting kidnapped by the butchers. But see, these dairy farmers, they also don't have the space for the number of cows they have. So some of it is on sort of, you let them loose and hope for the best. There's no formal process. So in fact, in the book, there's a story of a cow getting hit, and I say, you should go and complain to the police. And they said, we are not allowed to send these cows on the road, but we have no recourse. So it's very, very informal, and I think these people are making calculations on a daily basis that in a way that we cannot fathom. Sending this calf to the Goshala was a big thing for them. On the one hand, they wanted to keep this. On the other hand, they don't have space in their cow shed. So, and they don't have the money to handle an extra calf. They are the ones doing the labor. If they have to clean up cow dung, they prefer to clean up cow dung of a milk-giving cow rather than a male calf who gives. So these are the kinds of calculations that they make. But yeah, a lot of them leave the cows on the streets. In particularly in Alsur, where I live, it's very common. Yes. So they say now it's all done by injections, as she calls it. So artificial insemination is a big thing, except in villages where they have that Kovil Madu, it's called the temple cow, which again that goes into the whole Jallikattu the phenomenon.
So this one temple cow.
The one.
So instead of holy cow, this is a happy cow.
Would not stop.
Hmm.
And they would say that unless it sees and licks even a dead calf, it will not give milk.
Yeah, that's true.
But when you took away that cow mercifully to a Goshala,
Yeah.
what happened to that cow, Anand Lakshmi? Was she still giving milk?
No, I could hear her
And she was wailing for her calf?
Wailing for her calf, and they tried to duplicate. So the calculation we made was on a day-to-day basis. So Naidu wanted to get rid of the calf day 2. He said once the cow has this attachment to her calf, she won't let go. Sarala didn't want to give up the calf. Selva was fed up. He said, let's keep him for between the fighting between his parents. So we kept it for 1 week, and we gave it a little bit of the colostrum, as they called it, and then gave it away. What they do this. Murrah buffaloes, which is a breed of buffaloes, are very famous about, they won't let down their milk until they lick their cow. So they bring proxies, other animals for the...
She was almost a part of our family. In the sense, you shout Lakshmi wherever she runs. In the sense, we had so much of attachment. Have you touched on these aspects?
Yes, I do. In the book, there's lots of chapters on how all of us have stories of, the cow knows when the grandmother is going to die, all these very intuitive animals. So there's this whole section of how the cow will come and stand outside the window and cry, things like that. Yeah.
Like this cow in the village, I was brought up in a place called Matunga in Bombay, which can't be more urban than anything else. And when I was 7 or 8, I think, we were a gang of 8 or 9 boys, and every evening about 4:30, like clockwork, there was a cow that would come for the garbage because it was let loose to eat garbage. And we would then play with it. We called it Kamadhenu, but it came every day when I was a boy.
You said Shreya asked you some questions.
I asked her when we went for her book launch, I asked her if it was hard to come up with an ending, because it was just there. It was about what Selva wanted to become. So I thought it would be like somewhat of a closing thing, but it was just left there. Yeah.
Why didn't you come up with a better ending?
Usually I don't notice cows and I don't like them much. Yeah. Well, one day when we were coming back from school, the book was in the car and I had nothing to do, so I started reading it. And after that, he said, I couldn't put it down. Every time when we went home, I would put on my rollerblades and start reading it.
So with that, I have
one question.
yes.
How do you set up the parameters for your book? Because it seems to be so vast. It's unimaginable. How were you able to pinpoint all these different aspects, therapeutic, religious, whatever else, put it as a compendium of all of them?
I had very good editors. Actually, the book was sold in the US first, and my editor's name is Amy. So my instinct was I've learned so much about the sacred cow, I'm going to put it all in. So then she said, you may know 50, she cut down 50 pages basically. She said, this is just too much for Americans to handle. And they loved the story. Most people liked the story. And so they wanted to focus on Sarala. So all the backstory, all the research I did, kind of like those icebergs which are 75% down and 25% up, that was what she did. So she said, you just touch upon it with a few sentences. You don't need to show off, I've done all this research and everything. Not 50, I did about 5 or 10, yeah. But I added a lot of the thing. But I think they were right. If I had put all that stuff in, it would have just gotten be too much. Maybe another animal. Words. Shreya has a question. You should be the benediction. You and Stan should give the benediction. Yes. I mean, they know that I like bird watching, so it would be birds. And
I started learning about sunlight, new cow from your columns in the Mint.
yes.
And I stopped subscribing to the Mint not long after that, so I'm glad that I came here today. I got to the stage where I knew about the greenhouse and the expensive cow.
Yes.
But you made a comment which I found political, which was if the cows drift away and someone picks them up, I wondered if it wouldn't be someone who wants to use the cow for milk rather than beef, as you put it. That's
It shows a
unfair.
bias, yeah. But it I think it shows Naidu's bias. That was his way, a vegetarian bias. Yeah.
Incidentally, this is the first time I've heard that Naidus are the ones who keep cows, because I grew up with Naidus and Reddys.
Yes.
And
And we bought from a Reddy and we.
but this Naidus keeping cows is the first I've heard of it. That I think many of them would feel offended if that's how they were described.
I don't think it's all Naidus. It is particular. This is Sarala's. Yeah. Okay.
Mine's just a comment and it's a digression. But at one point I had 4 buffaloes in Bangalore. And so I remember every time she had a cow, there was a calf, I was so relieved that it was a female. And I said, there's one family that wants a female of something. in this
Yes.
family."
Yeah. Thanks, Yasmin. Yeah. So, who? Yeah. Oh, Chandradi.
Ever since you talked about, even though I've read the book and I do know that situation, but I'm getting this opportunity to really ask you, since you've done so much research in this whole culture of keeping the cows or the sacredness of the cow in Hindu religion, it's been disturbing me immensely that on one hand it's worship and thought of so well, And then when a calf is born, that this is how it is handled. Because I also grew up with cows in my grandparents' home, but never was confronted with this kind of situation. Because I thought that the male was always used for farming and those kinds of things. So this was somewhere a
Very disturbing.
contradiction, and that on one hand that it sort of seems like you're only using it. Where is the sacredness about it? You're only using it, and
I think for them it's also a livelihood, so they view it as sacred, but the urgencies of their economy. So I told Sarla, why don't you keep it for just one more week? She said, we have 2 pregnant cows in that tiny cow shed. They are, if they see, what if they stamp on the calf and kill it? They are temperamental. So these were she said, I said, I'll keep it in my balcony. And that didn't work, because of what do you do with the cow dung? So it was not an easy decision to give up the calf. And I think I admired them for the moral calculations that they had to make. They're balancing morality with economics and living in a society. So you see that on a daily basis, for them. Yeah. 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 Yeah, we had the luxury of. So we have the pleasure of ending early, and unless anyone has any questions, I will call on Stan.
As a kind of closure, the affection that Sarla feels for her cattle is genuine, and is part of the reason why I find her and her ecosystem so compelling. Most urban encounters with nature are fleeting, optional, impersonal. We go bird watching, we visit the zoo and grow vegetables in the garden. Truly immersive experiences involve living with another species within their natural habitat for long periods of time. I'm not sure whether their natural habitat is the middle of the street, but we'll yes. Urban dairy farmers allow me to get a glimpse of such a relationship without having to leave the city or even my neighborhood. They allow me to witness the intersection of nature, people, and the economy up close and personal, yet in my own comfort zone. That has, I realize now, been a privilege. I'm not sure if that's how you ended the book, but it sounds like a good ending. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is what the Cows of Bangalore is all about. The book is available outside for a piddling 350 rupees, and the book signing is free. A very big hand to Shobha and little Shreya and Mami and the dancers. Where have they gone? Okay. I think it's been quite a unique evening, hasn't it, Ravi? Yes, very, very. We have all kinds of unique evenings, but this was special.